Welcome to a very special Behavioral Intelligence Mara Sánchez deep dive.
Yeah, we are really excited to get into this one with you today.
You really are. And since you're the dedicated student tuning in, your mission today is conquering Domain B of the BCBA exam.
Specifically, B.20.
Right. Identifying the role of multiple control in verbal behavior, which is, a huge topic.
It's massive, and it's tricky, too.
Oh, absolutely. So we've got a whole stack of materials here. We're pulling from the BAS 6th edition study guide, some multiple mock exams, and obviously foundational text from Cooper and, of course, Skinner's 1957 verbal behavior.
Yeah, the absolute classics.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this, because as behavior analysts, it is it's just really easy to look at verbal operants like mans or tax in a vacuum,
Oh, for sure. We like to put things in neat little boxes.
Exactly. Like a client wants something, they ask for it, input A equals output B. But real-world human language is just, well, it's messy.
It's incredibly messy. A single verbal response is almost never just one thing.
Right.
It's usually a combination of variables. Skinner actually pointed this out decades ago. Any instance of verbal behavior is a function of many variables operating at the exact same time.
So, wait, what exactly is the official definition of multiple control then?
Basically, it refers to a situation where a single instance of verbal behavior is influenced by multiple controlling variables simultaneously.
Okay.
And that includes both antecedents, like the stimuli in the environment, and the consequences, like reinforcement.
Okay, I'm trying to visualize this. It sounds a bit like baking.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Well, you don't just taste flour or, just taste sugar or butter independently. The final cake you eat is controlled by all those ingredients acting together.
That's a great way to look at it.
But the thing is, how do we actually separate those ingredients when we're observing a client?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, understanding that complexity is exactly how we design far more effective communication interventions, especially for learners with language delays.
Because if you miss an ingredient, the whole cake falls apart.
Exactly. If you only look at one variable, you're not seeing the whole picture. So, to break it down for the exam, students really need to master the two main types, convergent and divergent multiple control.
Let's start with convergent. If I'm thinking about the word converge, it means like coming together.
Right.
So is that many things squishing together to make one word?
That's spot on. The term convergent multiple control, which Jack Michael coined in 2003, is when a single verbal behavior is controlled by multiple antecedents.
Okay, so many inputs, one output.
Exactly.
I picture that like a funnel.
Yeah.
You have this wide opening at the top, and all these different environmental factors and motivational factors are just pouring in.
Yeah.
And then they all kind of squeeze down to produce one single verbal response at the bottom.
That is a perfect visual. Let's look at the classic cookie example from the study guide to show how that funnel works.
So the cookie one, yeah.
So a child says, "Can I have a cookie?"
Right, which on a mock exam, my first instinct is just to say, oh, that's a mand. They want a cookie, they ask for it. Done.
And that is exactly where a lot of students lose points. Because it's almost never a pure mand.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Think about the funnel. Yes, hunger is pouring in. That's the motivating operation, the MO. But what else is in that room?
Well, usually an adult.
Exactly. The presence of the adult is another variable. They act as the social context or the listener.
Oh, right. Because if the adult wasn't there, they probably wouldn't say it.
Exactly. And what if it's, say, 3 p.m., which is always snack time? That time of day is a discriminative stimulus. All of those things, the hunger, the adult, the time, they all converge to produce that one question.
Okay, that makes total sense. It's not just one switch flipping in the brain.
Yeah.
It's like 3 switches all having to flip at the exact same time.
Right.
The text also has this other example that I think is so relatable, the chunky monkey example.
Oh, I love this one.
Right. So say you really want ice cream. Your MO is super high. Then your spouse holds up a frozen bag. So that's your nonverbal stimulus. And then they ask you, what rhymes with hunky skunky, which is the verbal stimulus.
Right.
And your response, chunky monkey, is basically forced out by all 3 of those variables converging at once.
Exactly. It's the craving, the visual of the bag, and the rhyme all summing together.
Summing together. I like that. There's also that slightly more advanced example from the text about World War II.
Oh, yes. Asking the question, why did the U.S. enter World War II?
Yeah. How does that one work?
Well, the sources point out that asking that specific question could be evoked by a whole mix of things, like maybe you're speaking to an anti-war audience.
Okay, so the audience is a stimulus.
Right. Or it could be driven by a strong political motivation you hold, or even just a current conversation you're having.
Right. And just to be clear for the listener, we are definitely not taking any political sides here. We're just impartially sharing how the source material illustrates that internal political motivations can act as a controlling variable.
Exactly. The point is just that those different variables converge on one single question.
So what does this all mean for you in your clinical practice? Why should the listener care about chunky monkey or historical questions?
Because recognizing convergent control helps you address all those contextual factors for your learner. If you know communication requires a funnel of motivation, listener presence, and environmental cues, you can actually set up your sessions to naturally support that. It leads to highly individualized interventions.
That is huge. Okay, so that's convergent. Now, here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because divergent multiple control is the exact opposite, right?
The complete inverse. One input, many potential outputs.
So if convergent is a funnel, divergent is like a prism.
A prism, yeah.
You shine one single beam of light into the glass, that's your one stimulus, and scatters in all these different colors.
Right. A single antecedent stimulus evokes multiple types of verbal behavior.
But how does that actually look in a session?
The primary clinical example from the study guide is perfect for this. Imagine you show a child a picture of a dog. Just one visual stimulus.
Okay. So one picture.
Right. Now, depending on the child's motivation and learning history, that one picture could evoke several different responses.
Like what?
Well, they might just see it and say, dog. That's a tact, right? Just based on visual perception.
Okay, yeah. Labeling.
But what if their motivation to play with their toy dog is really high? They might see the picture and say, I want the dog.
Oh, wow. So then it becomes a mand.
Exactly. Or they might just imitate a past sound they associate with it and say, woof, woof, which is an echoic or intraverbal response.
So one picture scattered into three totally different operands.
Exactly.
There's an everyday example of this too, right? The football example.
Yes, the word football or soccer.
Right, like if you hear the word football, that single verbal stimulus can evoke a huge variety of intraverbal responses.
Oh, totally. Different people will say completely different things. One person might say goal, another might say messy.
Or even the same person might react differently on different days.
Exactly. Which is why recognizing divergent control is so critical for clinical application.
How so?
Well, it allows you to tailor your teaching strategies. If you know one object can evoke multiple responses, you have to be really intentional with your prompts.
Because you want to shape the exact desired behavior during that specific session.
Right. You don't want to accidentally reinforce a man when you're trying to teach a tact.
Oh, man. That happens all the time, doesn't it?
All the time.
Which actually leads us perfectly into the BCBA exam tips. Because this multiple control stuff creates some major traps for test takers.
It really does. And this raises an important question about how this actually appears on the exam.
Okay, what's the biggest trap?
By far, it's misidentifying an impure tact.
An impure tact. Okay, give me an example.
So imagine a speaker is trying to get out the door, and they say to their partner, "You look great."
Okay, happens all the time.
Right. Now, students read that scenario, and they often label it a pure tact because, the person is labeling the visual stimulus of their partner's outfit.
Right, they see the outfit, they say it looks good, seems like a tact.
But it's actually an impure tact because it's also heavily controlled by a motivating operation.
Wait, what's the MO in that situation?
The desire to leave the house quickly, or maybe to avoid a fight, that MO affects the tacting relationship.
Oh, so they're basically demanding for peace so they can just get in the car.
Exactly. It's not just a pure label.
That is so sneaky. So as an exam strategy, you really need to always ask yourself, is there a hidden motivating operation here?
You have to. Like if a client says water when shown a glass, is it just a tact?
Right. Or have they been outside sweating for 4 hours, which adds a huge man component to it?
Exactly. You always have to look for that hidden motivation.
Okay, so to recap the mix-ups for the listener, the ultimate cheat sheet here is convergent equals multiple stimuli combining into one single response.
Yep. The funnel.
The funnel. And divergent equals one stimulus creating multiple response options.
The prism.
The prism.
So,
Honestly, multiple control isn't just for clinical behavioral analysis. It's kind of the secret formula behind, like, human humor and poetry and embarrassment.
oh, 100%. In fact, Skinner actually noted in his writings that multiple control is the root of the Freudian slip.
Oh, really? The Freudian slip? That's fascinating. Give me an example of that.
Okay, so imagine a speaker is talking to a friend who is wearing a brand new cap. And in Spanish, cap is gorra.
Okay, what?
But this friend also happens to be pretty overweight, which in Spanish is gorda.
Oh, no, I see where this is going.
Right. So the speaker intends to compliment the hat, but accidentally says, I really like that gorda you are wearing.
Oh, wow, so they accidentally called their friend fat.
Yep. Because the single utterance was convergently controlled by both the visual stimulus of the hat
And the visual stimulus of the friend's weight.
Exactly. It combined to create a completely unintended and incredibly awkward multiple control response.
That is amazing. And terrible for that guy.
Truly terrible.
But something really interesting for you, the listener, to think about the next time you make a slip of the tongue. It's not just random. It's multiple control in action.
Behavior analysis is everywhere.
It really is. Well, thank you so much for studying with the Behavioral Intelligence Con Mara Sánchez series today.
Yeah, keep pushing toward that BCBA certification.
Absolutely. You guys have got this. And we definitely invite you to continue the study series with us.
We'd love to have you back.
For more resources, be sure to follow Amethyst Therapy Services. You can check out the website at www.amethysttherapyservices.com.
And you can always reach out via email, too.
Yes, that's info@amethysttherapyservices.com. Have a great time studying, everyone.